Are you struggling to pick who you should bring in for game week 27? Then here are my transfer tips ahead of the game week. Let's get into it.
Yo, listen up, Rue is stepping up the game, where fantasy Premier League runs in his veins. From transfers to captains, he's always on top, guiding you through every game week non-stop. They say Rue got that Salah flow. Welcome to the channel, enjoy the show. Wild cards, free hits with so much vibe. If you're hunting for success, then make sure you subscribe.
Good day, mate. Welcome back to the channel. I'm FPL Rue and welcome back to another FPL video. So in today's video, I'm going to be going through the top transfer tips ahead of game week 27. We're going to be looking at players that you should be buying and players that you potentially should be selling. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you do subscribe and hit that notification bell and smash a like on this video too. Let's try and get to 50 likes. First of all, I wanted to talk about Heung-min Son. So the Spurs midfielder is back from the Asia Cup. He's been back a couple of games now. Came on as a substitute against Brighton in game week 24 and got an assist. Then he played 90 minutes against Wolves in Tottenham's loss in game week 25. Obviously, Spurs don't have a fixture in game week 26, so we can't really compare how he's done in that game week. And they're out of the FA Cup as well, so there's no fixture in between that loss against Wolves and game week 27 for Spurs. They do have a really good fixture though. Palace at home for Tottenham. 9.6 million Son comes in at, and he's 15.8% owned. Their running is actually not too bad for the next 4 game weeks. So good home game against Crystal Palace, tough away game against Villa. Then they do have a guaranteed game in game week 29 against Fulham away, and then Luton at home in game week 30. So a lot of people are going to be looking to bring in Spurs assets. Son, I think with the fact that I feel like there's a lot of money at the moment with Trent being injured, with De Bruyne not being an option, Salah having a blank game week and then a blank game week again in game week 29 potentially. I think a lot of people will have some money to spend, and I think Son is going to be one of them options. This season, he's done, to be honest, really well. He's got 12 goals, 6 assists, 21 starts. Obviously, he did miss a few games from the Asia Cup. So 18 returns in 21 starts is really good. He's averaging about 0.35 expected goals, and in terms of expected assists, 0.24. So not too bad, I'd say. Pretty good in terms of overall goal involvement. Expected is 0.59. Son, though, one thing to bear in mind is a lot of the goals and assists for Son have come while he's been playing the number 9 position. Towards the start of the season, it was Richarlison playing up there, and he blanked 3 games in a row. Then in game week 4, he came in, played up front in terms of centrally, and he got a hat-trick straight away against Burnley, and then 2 against Arsenal, and then just carried on scoring from there. Obviously, since kind of Richarlison's come into a bit of form and Son kind of went off to the Asia Cup, he's come back and he started playing on the left. And he did do that before he did go to the Asia Cup, but it wasn't for too many games. But he did kind of leave on a half decent, I guess, scoring run. He got 2 in 3 games, 3 returns in 3 games too, before he did go Asia Cup. And he's come back and got an assist already. For me, though, his expected goals in that fixture against Wolves in game week 25 was 0. Spurs were pretty bad that game, probably the worst they've played all season. But with these fixtures coming up, I think it could be a good time to bring in Heung-min Son. He does give you a really nice captain option in game week 29 too, where there's going to be quite a big blank game week, and potentially there's only going to be 3 or maximum 4 or 5 fixtures. So Son, I think, is a really nice option to bring in from game week 27, as you do get that Crystal Palace at home game. If you wait a week, then you start off with Villa away, which is not ideal. However, Spurs have scored against in every Premier League game they've played this season. So for me, Son surely has to get up amongst the goals again. But I'm a bit worried about him playing from the left. I don't think that's his best position anymore. I know Richarlison has done really well up front, but I think to get the best out of Son, he's going to have to play up front, and then maybe the Richarlison is going to have to go to the left. But we're not sure if that will happen. If Ange will do that, it's going to be a bit of a tricky situation for Ange to manage. So I would just be a bit considerate of that. But even if he is on the left, I think he still can deliver. I just don't think he's as good as when he plays centrally. Next up, we've got a striker that is on fire at the minute. It is Dom Solanke. This comes in at 6.9 million and 19.5% owned, which to me is just really shocking how low owned he is. I'm sure that will increase every day that goes by up until the double game week in 28. But even before that, he's got Burnley away, one of the best fixtures at the moment. Then obviously that double game week 28, two probably are the best fixtures you can ask for, or three of the best free fixtures you can ask for over 2 game weeks. So Burnley, Sheffield United, and Luton, and 3 newly promoted sides. In game week 29, it's not going to go ahead probably. That fixture against Wolves, I think that that will be called off because of FA Cup commitments. But in game week 30, they do have a fixture against Everton at home, which is a really good fixture. For me, though, I think Solanke is essential. To be honest, I think he's essential from this game week 27. So if you don't own him, I would strongly advise bringing him in. That Burnley away fixture does look really nice, and that double game week, which I'm sure you're going to want to captain him because Haaland does have Liverpool away in game week 28. So it's not like Haaland has a good fixture to kind of rival that. So for me, if you don't own Solanke, it is definitely time to bring him in. He got a goal and assist last time out in game week 25. That was in game week 26. He plays Manchester City, but this is being recorded before that, as I really did want to get this out as soon as that game finished. But this season, he's been so good. 14 goals, 3 assists in 24 starts, which is 17 returns in 24. He plays 90 minutes basically every game. Bournemouth are a much better team than they were last season. They are in a bit of a sticky run of form, which I don't really get noticed with FPL because Solanke's just scoring and scoring and scoring. You don't really pick up on Bournemouth's form, but they haven't won in their last 6 games, which is a bit worrying. But they've played Spurs, Liverpool, and Newcastle away in that, so it has been a bit of a tough run for them. But I'm sure they're going to basically need to win these games to kind of bounce back. And Burnley, Sheffield United, and Luton are probably some of the best teams you can ask for. Obviously, it is a bit worrying that fixture in game week 29 that is potentially not going to go ahead. But you do get a double game week, like I said, 2 home fixtures, 2 newly promoted sides before that. And especially if you bring him in game week 27, you get Burnley into the mix as well. So it's definitely worth taking a hit if you have to take him out in game week 29. So for me, if you don't own Dom Solanke, what are you doing? Get him in. Next up is James Maddison, coming in at 8 million and 10% owned. So a player that a lot of us did have in our teams earlier on in the season, but obviously picked up that injury in game week 11, which saw him out for about 10 weeks. He has come back now, and he's got 2 assists in the last 4 games. Obviously, Spurs' form has been a bit, I guess, hit and miss since he's come back. They've won 2, drawn 1, lost 1. So not too bad, but not the best. We thought with James Maddison coming back that it would kind of spark Tottenham to go on a good run of form like they did earlier on in the season. Maddison has been playing kind of that number 10 position. Some people did think that potentially could be going into the right because of the form of kind of Kulusevski hasn't been that great recently. And Brennan Johnson's just not really doing it from the start, but he has been playing at number 10. I think Maddison can actually be a really nice option as well as Son. So a lot of people are going for Son this game week, and I think Maddison is an addition to Son. I don't think he can replace Son. Obviously, you're saving a bit of money over Son, like 1.6 million, but I think Son is a much better option. So that would be my first choice from Spurs. But if you did want to go for 2 Spurs players, then I think Maddison is a nice pick for the other one. A lot of people are probably going to go for Richarlison as well, but for me, I think Maddison is secure minutes. He's going to be on set pieces, free kicks. I think he just gives a little bit more than Richarlison, and I do honestly think that Postecoglou is going to have to put Richarlison to the left to get the best out of Son. I know that sounds a bit ludicrous to say because Son is technically a left winger and Richarlison's a striker, but I just don't think Son is a left winger anymore. And yeah, I've said it many times in my videos that I just think he's better through the middle. This season, Maddison's only got 3 goals. So although we thought he was doing so well earlier in the season, he's only scored 3 goals, and he's got 8 assists, which is actually not too bad. 11 returns in 15 games is pretty good, and his numbers are really good too. So 0.25 expected goals, 0.28 expected assists. So it's not too bad. Obviously, you'd like a bit better, but in terms of adding that up, it kind of means he should get a return every other game. Obviously, that's been more assists than goals this season, way more. But I think he's going to be crucial for Spurs to kind of pick up from this I won't say bad form, but just inconsistent form. And the fixtures again for Spurs look really, really nice. Palace at home, Villa away, albeit away from home, tough place to go, but they do concede goals. Fulham away and then Luton at home. Obviously, that guaranteed fixture in game week 29 is the big selling point. And I think Maddison can be a nice differential, whereas a lot of people might have held on to Richarlison or going to go for Richarlison. Martin Odegaard, the 8.4 million midfielder that plays for Arsenal, that comes in at 15.6% owned. Obviously, a lot of people have started to look at Arsenal options in this game week because of the great fixture against Sheffield United away. They also have Brentford at home, which Brentford have been conceding a lot of goals recently. So I can see why people are looking at Arsenal assets. The one thing I would just take into consideration is they are potentially going to blank in game week 29. So if Chelsea continue and beat Leeds in the FA Cup, they go through to the quarterfinals, and the quarterfinals are actually played in game week 29. So that fixture will be off for Arsenal and Chelsea. So if they do end up blanking, then they have City away in 30. So it's not ideal to have a blank and then City away. But I think the fixtures in game week 27 and 28 can be good enough to kind of be worth bringing in an Arsenal asset. Odegaard, obviously, I think Saka is the best option in terms of attacking wise, right, over Jesus, Trossard, Martinelli, Havertz. If you wanted to go for someone like Havertz, I think Saka is the best option. And don't get me wrong. So if you don't have Saka already, then I probably would go Saka. But if you did want to add up a second option, then I think Odegaard is actually the best. In terms of Arsenal this season, it's actually proved that he is the second best. 114 points he has scored. You could say that I guess, hasn't had a big of a season as he did last season, where it was a bit obvious that he was playing very well. But the last two games for Arsenal, he has got 3 assists and a goal. Obviously, they've scored 11 goals in that, so you could say that it's a bit of skewed data. But for me, his assist potential is just up there with some of the very best. His expected assists in terms of per 90 minutes is 0.29, but in the last 2 game weeks is 0.41 for Burnley and 0.52 for West Ham, and then even against Liverpool, 0.6 for Odegaard, and then even before that in game week 22 was 0.6. So recently he's really stepped it up. I feel like even just looking at him and watching him play, I can definitely see that he has stepped it up. 5 goals, 7 assists, you could say is a little bit underwhelming in terms of bringing him in, especially for 8.4 million. But I actually can see him doing very well, especially in the next 2 game weeks. If you are playing a free hit in game week 29, then I think he is a very good option. If not, then I probably wouldn't actually go for him. I think someone like Maddison probably has as good fixtures and kind of has that fixture in game week 29. Someone like Son has that, again, same sort of thing, same fixtures, and has a fixture in game week 29. And I think they are better options. However, if you're going to be playing your free hit in 29, you're going to have Son and Maddison in there probably. And then you've got probably better fixtures before that for Odegaard. But for me, I think Saka, obviously, if you don't have him, get him in. If we did want to double up on the Arsenal attack, I think Odegaard is probably the best option. So here is it's actually even funny just talking about this person, but here is a player that is, I guess, probably one of the biggest differentials I'll ever talk about on one of my transfer tips videos. So it is very out there. I completely understand that it's out there, and I probably wouldn't recommend you going for someone like this unless you were really looking for a differential. It is Yuri Tielemans. So a player that played for Leicester a couple of seasons ago, was talked about to being one of the best midfielders in the league. Probably has had a bit of a shock in terms of a fall from grace, you could say. But he has been looking pretty good for Aston Villa the last few game weeks. So Kamara is now out injured for Aston Villa, which I think means Douglas Luiz will be playing a bit more defensively. And then it means Tielemans does come in the team, and he'll probably be a bit more attacking, more of an attacking number 8. Don't get me wrong, this is a massive differential. So if you are looking for an Aston Villa player, you're probably better off going Douglas Luiz or Leon Bailey. But if you did want a massive differential, then I think Tielemans could actually be that. He got an assist in game week 25. He got a goal in game week 23. Yes, it's a bit tricky with the starts as he didn't start in 24. but I think he should start now. Kamara's out injured. He started 7 games this season. He's got 4 assists and a goal, which I think is really, really good for someone that is not a number 10. He's more of an attacking 8. And I can actually see him being a nice differential if you are, I guess, needing players for game week 29 and you're going to be wildcarding in game week 30. If you're not going to be wildcarding game week 30, I probably wouldn't go for him. I think there are better options in terms of a bit longer than game week 30 because you got Luton away in game week 27, Spurs at home. You can probably afford to bench him if maybe you have a Cole Palmer on the bench, Garnacho. 29, you got West Ham away, and then you've got Wolves in game week 30, which is a Midlands derby. However, yeah, like I said, it is a massive, 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 massive differential. His expected assist, though, per 90 is 0.25, which is up there with Maddison and Odegaard. So for me, if you're going to be talking about them in terms of assist kings and assist this, assist that, then you've got to be looking at Tielemans. Obviously, Tielemans hasn't played as many minutes as them, so it is a smaller sample size. But for me, if you are looking for that ultimate differential, I think he can be that. We've seen him score screamers before. We've seen him pull off brilliant passes for assists for Leicester. And with Villa's fixtures, I don't actually hate the pick at all. So if you are looking for a differential, then it could be Yuri Tielemans. But to be honest, if I had the option, I'd probably go for Douglas Luiz or Bailey. But if you were looking for the ultimate pick and you wanted to have a bit of fun, then I don't hate Tielemans at all. Let me know if you go for him in the comment section below, because that would be incredible if he does do well. So Marcus Senesi, the Bournemouth defender, comes in at 4.5 million and is not highly owned at all. He's 3.4% owned, and he has some incredible fixtures coming up. Burnley away, Sheffield United at home, and Luton at home in a double game week. Wolves away, which will probably get called off for game week 29 because of the FA Cup, and then Everton at home. So, to be honest, I can't speak highly enough of this guy. I've had him in my team since my first wild card. I had him in because I knew Bournemouth were going to get a double at some point, and now's his time to shine. I played him in one game, which he did get an assist for, or maybe he got a goal. Yeah, Fulham away, he got a goal for me. I think he can get attacking returns, and I actually really do like him as an option. He's only 4.5 million. He'll come in, play Burnley, play the double game week. Then you can bench him again if you want to. Yeah, I do really, really like him as an option. In terms of clean sheets, though, for Bournemouth, you're struggling, to be honest. You are struggling. Their expected goals conceded over the season has been 1.64, so it's likely they're going to concede a goal a game at least. But for me, his attacking returns for this double game week, he scored 3 goals, 2 assists this season, which is very, very good. 17 starts for a defender, that is actually really, really good. Obviously, he had a nice bit of a run midway through the season, game at 15, 16, and 18, because obviously Bournemouth didn't play. Well, the game against Luton got abandoned. But yeah, Senesi is in my team. I honestly think if you are looking for in that double game with defender, then I think go for him. He's done me so well this season. He's attacking. When he does get a return, he normally gets bonus points. Obviously, Bournemouth's defense is not the best. They've been shocking so far the last 6 games they haven't won. But I think these fixtures with a double game week, I think he's probably one of the best defenders to go for at the minute because of them fixtures and double game week and the attacking returns from him. So let me know what you think about him in the comment section below. Carlton Morris, the Luton forward, comes in at 5 million and only 3.5% owned. A player that maybe a few people have been talking about because Luton have just had a double game week. He did get a goal in that against Man United, and he has been on really, really nice form recently. He won't have a fixture in the game week just gone, so we can't really tell how he's gone on after that double game week. But since game week, probably I'd say game week 19, where he got 2 assists against Sheffield United off the bench. He also got a goal off the bench against Burnley. He got an assist in game week 22 against Brighton. He got a goal and an assist against Newcastle away in 23. 24 goal against Sheffield United, 25 a goal against Man United. So for me, Carlton Morris is a really, really nice option for the double game week coming up in game week 28. And I think he's not a bad option coming up now as well. Aston Villa at home. I think Villa away from home are a bit shaky. I think they concede goals. Even though I actually don't mind them as a defensive team, but I think they can concede. And I think Luton at home are going to look at that game, and I think Luton score goals as well. So it's not a terrible fixture. I've put it in grey because Aston Villa are a decent side, but it's that double game week that you have for Luton with Palace away and Bournemouth away. Yes, both away games, but they are games where they both concede, Palace and Bournemouth. In terms of performances this season, Carlton Morris has played 19 games, 7 goals, 6 assists. That's 13 returns in 19 games for a Luton side that have just come up, complete underdogs. I actually really like him as an option for that double game week. He also potentially has a fixture in game week 29. So if Nottingham Forest lose to Man United in the FA Cup and Luton lose to Manchester City, then that fixture will be going ahead. If one of them win, then that fixture won't be going ahead. But it is likely Man United and Man City do beat Luton and Forest. So that fixture should be going ahead. So if you look at that little chunk, double game week, then Forest at home, for me, it looks like a really nice option to go for. But it all depends on that Forest at home fixture. If it's just a double game week, I'm not too sure it's worth it, to be honest. I think you got Solanke there, you got Watkins who you're going to want for that blank game week in 29. You got Tony who you're probably going to want. So it's a bit tricky. But if that fixture is going ahead, then it does make it a lot easier to bring in Carlton Morris in game week 28. So a lot of people have been talking about Neto this, Neto that, but I think they're talking about the wrong Neto. Neto, Bournemouth's goalkeeper, is a player that I do really like, and I think he's probably one of the best goalkeepers at the moment to go for. I know Bournemouth's defence is not great, but with that double game week, with the nice fixtures, with save points, etc., I actually think Neto could be a really nice option to go for. Obviously, even if Bournemouth do blank in game week 29, you should have another goalkeeper on your bench to play in that game week, whether that's Areola, if you've got Vicario, if you've got someone else, etc., Martinez for Aston Villa, then fair enough. But I actually really do like Neto for game week 27 and the game week 28 fixtures. Also with Neto, you don't have to worry about him blanking in game week 29 if you do have that sub goalkeeper that plays in that game week. Whereas if you bring in a Bournemouth defender like Senesi, then you're going to have to worry about benching them or taking them out, etc. So for me, by bringing in Neto, you do get that chance to actually bench him in 29 and play your goalkeeper without affecting how many players you're going to have playing. But like I've said, 4.6 million, 3.3% owned. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because Bournemouth have actually been not the best defensively this season, but his save points have actually been pretty good. So 1.64 expected goals for Neto. His saves, he averages 3.59 saves per 90 minutes. So that's at least one save point on average every game. So he could play and just end up getting 3 points by conceding a goal. So I do really like him as an option. For me, I actually fancy Bournemouth to keep a few clean sheets over the next 3. I think Burnley are shocking, Sheffield United are shocking. Maybe Luton can score against them, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Bournemouth do keep 2 clean sheets in that game week. But let me know what you think in the comment section below on all these player options. Let me know what your transfers are for this game week as well, because it is a massive game week to decide what transfers are going to be making, because we have to consider the blank game week in 29, a few double game weeks coming up, etc. And please smash a like button. It really does help me out. Let's get to 50 likes. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as it does help me out. Let's get to 2K before the end of the season. And good luck for the game week.